T-minus 50 seconds. T-minus 40 seconds. T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. T-minus.
Okay, and welcome in. Sorry about that, a little mistake on the countdown there. That was when you're trying to do your own presentation and also your own production. I've broken a couple of my cardinal rules right now, where I now can hear my own self speaking on the main stage. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us again to Rethink 2020 Part 2. I appreciate that every one of you is spending your precious time with us and trying to learn more and really continue on that education that we all talk about doing. So what I'm going to be doing now is specifically discussing a 6CONNEX platform that myself and my team utilize for one of our clients' events. The good, the bad, and just to give you an idea of a different platform than what we're experiencing today. So to start us off, just to let you know, I don't think I've ever formally introduced myself to anyone who's attending today, but I'm Mikey Singer, president and founder of MKEM. I have been in the events industry for 20 years, and prior to that, I did parties and things like that. So I've been doing things like this pretty much most of my life. And as this hit over the first 6 months, my team, or the first few months of this, we spent a ton of time researching the different platforms out there. One of the platforms that we liked was 6CONNEX. Now that we've gotten to see under the hood, these are the things that we've come to realize. Breaking it down, in terms of customizability, reliability, attendees, software, timing, metrics, customer support, we're going to go through all of those and what they excelled in and what they really failed in. So in terms of exhibitor booths, what you see is a huge difference from what we're viewing today. As you can see in the platform of 6CONNEX, you had the ability to really customize your booth, make it very clickable, very 3D looking. It was great in that sense for a front-facing, quick, business to business. If you really wanted to show products, it had a really good way of actually cataloging different content that you were able to download. Excuse me, one of the major drawbacks of this, though, although beautiful, is there is no really integrated way or dynamic way to get face-to-face with the exhibitor. So although this was one of the better platforms I've seen in terms of chat, because the chat is always prevalent up at the top, very easily accessible. You can make them pop out, and you can have welcome videos and things like that playing. The issue for me was, unless there's a way for them to engage face-to-face, which is what some of our exhibitors are doing now inside the supplier area, is where they're engaging and having that conversation. And we saw that to great effect at the Sport Card and Memorabilia Show, where a lot of sales were done. So it depends really what your goal is. So for B2C shows, I think the most important thing is having that conversation with the customer and really engaging with them and creating that experience. I think for a B2B show, something like this works really nicely. Quite beautiful, lays out everything very well for you. One of the drawbacks to all of this content is This site was built in probably the early 2000s, and it shows in the back end. One of the issues is, and we'll get into it a little bit more, is all content for the event itself needs to be uploaded into one folder, broken down from there, and then time-consumingly placed into each individual area, as you're seeing from here. What is great about the platform is the customizability. And when this platform first came out, and probably even as much as a year ago, it would have been a great place for a company like, a Reckitt Benckiser with a worldwide footprint and maybe 20,000 employees to have an employee meetup where they didn't have to fly everyone into a centralized location. They could set up a really customized experience for their members inside a platform like this. So what I'm showing everyone here today is what we did for the All-State Soccer Show. And we really did create some amazing, incredible customized experiences. As you can see, this helps desk here had all of our logos. There was great ways to access our people. It's a little bit smaller than I was hoping. I should stop touching my head. When I put this together for everyone to see. But over here is a way for people to interact with the video support chat that we had. Every one of these clickable. This was an FAQ. This is a schedule, and basically took you to the All-State Soccer Show booth. Down here along the bottom of each one is basically how you navigate through the whole platform itself. Very easy to use in terms of that regard. One of the things though is I didn't find it stuck people as much as I'd wanted to. Again, very beautiful look for the hall. Great way to differentiate yourself. But the issue here is when this platform came out, and again, as I mentioned, even as much as a year ago, this platform would have had a lot more time to support you in terms of the customization and changes you need to make. It is a long uptick in terms of learning the platform. So really, they will tell you that you can only have 6 weeks with the platform. I would suggest stretching that out to 8, if at all possible. They're very tight in terms of the program managers, in terms of having time with you, as a lot of platforms are. I think what a lot of event producers have to think about and realize is that you're no longer competing against a regional competition for space. You're now competing against the whole world. So this is a worldwide pandemic. Everyone is looking for ways to do their shows in different ways. The advantage for us is there's been a ton of money that's been pumped into the space. So there's new platforms coming out every day. But for specific platforms like this or VFairs or anything like that, you got to get in contact quickly. And I would suggest finding someone who knows how to use the platforms. And I'm not just doing that to sell myself or anyone else who does it. It will help you navigate the process a lot quicker, especially with tight timelines, understanding that themselves do not have the support that they used to. Over here, you see some images from the main stage. Some major differences that you're noticing from the main stage on this platform versus a 6CONNEX or even a VFairs or a lot of the 2.5D systems that you hear us mention is they often have this pop-out menu, as you see here, where you can launch as things become live, as opposed to here where it's just boom, right in your face. They did have some very nice production quality. Similar to what you're seeing here, they had the ability to do even more where they could actually list who was speaking and a little bit about them. What I didn't love was the back end. I felt that their tech person could have been more on camera, is one of my issues. Often, as Carly mentioned, what we've done is we've onboarded each of our speakers. I think it's very important to have a face communicating with your speakers as they come on. A lot of these platforms ask for people to come on 20, 30 minutes on for onboarding. That is unrealistic. Professional speakers, professional athletes, these people are not going to want to come on 30, 20 minutes beforehand. Asking for 5 to 10 should be more than enough, especially if you've been able to do the onboarding. And sorry, should go a little more into how this works itself. The platform was very smooth in terms of delivery of the experience for viewing it. And it did track everyone who viewed it and how many people viewed for how long. And on the back end side, I was able to be involved with it, but I wasn't able to communicate or come on screen. So again, there were some problems there. And for me, the pluses was the high production quality, as you see from these couple pictures here. The customization by able to be produced images and have this scroll and everything like that. So one of the things that is great, and I have brought it up a couple times, the customizability. So everything that you see, we built ourselves. You can build scrolling banners, clickable banners, things like that, all yourself, which is a nice feature, but it is a long learning curve. And in times past, what would have happened is a 6CONNEX team member would have done most of the building for you. That time just doesn't exist anymore. So moving forward, I'm going to talk about the strengths. The strengths about the platform, it has a long track record. Like I said, this platform and the person who we worked with, which was a reseller, which is Communicate, has been in business for a long time. So what comes with that is reliability, knowing it's not a fly-by-night organization. They're not going to take your money. They've been working with Fortune 500 companies for a long time. The platform itself is aesthetically pleasing, as you're seeing from some of the images that I pulled up. It looked beautiful. It was a great event. It was something to be very proud of. There's no limit to the booth information and content that you're able to upload into there. So that's really nice. A lot of downloadable content. You can get really fun and innovative with what you can do with some of the booths in the All-State Soccer Show booth itself. We had a photo booth that was amazing that ended up, you could put yourself in a photo with the members from Team Canada. So again, just being really creative with what's available to you. And I love that it kept you within the platform. So one of the problems with some of these platforms is they're so quick to link you out to different websites and things like that. And then you're off the show. It'd be like sending you out of the show floor. So what I did really like is it had the ability to open a lot of things in iframes. Again, an older technology, but one that worked quite nicely for this, whether it was videos or content pieces or things like that. You had the ability to customize it. And again, this added to the time and effort and work that went into it. So the one thing I can say about this, and we'll get into it, it is a heavy lift. So there is going to be a lot of team members who need to be trained up on this platform to know how to execute it to the best of its abilities. Some of the weaknesses is you are limited now because of the volume that they are facing to 100 exhibitors. They may have changed that now as things have increased in terms of competition and availability of more options out there. But the last time I was checking, you had to have only 100 exhibitors or clear it long in advance. The other thing is that they were now limiting you from not getting a single license at the $15,000 starting point. It's now a $30,000 annual license. Again, unless that has changed from the last month. That's the other thing that I have to say to a lot of people is every one of these platforms is A, changing their pricing structure. So the sooner you lock in, the better, and B, updating. So keep looking at platforms you may have passed in the beginning and see what they look like now 4 months later. As you heard today, there's a new one launching. BB Blanc announced that they were launching a new platform. So something to keep in mind as you do your search. All content must be uploaded in one central location. So I mentioned this earlier. It is a very time-consuming process, not intuitive at all. And for a large event with lots of content, that could be a real problem if you are not very organized with getting stuff from your exhibitors in a timely fashion. This brings me back to, this is an older software. This runs in a similar way to a lot of ways that some of the websites that you would have been building or working with in 2008, 2007. It looks great on the front end, but the guts are, it's an older car. is the best way to think of it. All event content must be okay and not intuitive for the exhibitor to build. So one of the things I'm finding with some of the other platforms that we use for our exhibitors and our clients is that they're very easy. So what we can do is really provide the guidance for the exhibitor as opposed to be forced to build it all ourselves. With this platform, due to the customizability and certain things like that and the need to work with the platform itself to make changes, there needs to be a heavy push from the events team itself to make sure that is guided in the right process and everything is taken care of. Tracking metrics. So some of the tracking metrics of the platform itself, it allowed you to view all content. So you could tell what content was viewed by how many people for how long, which is excellent if you're looking to let you know how your exhibitors did. Exhibit visits. So how often people went into, or how many people went into each booth, and how long they stayed or what they were interacted with in each booth as well. Sorry, not how long they stayed, but what they interacted with. And how many people were at the show at one time. So it can tell you what your attendance is. One thing I wanted to point out, and I've been telling this to clients lately, is you have to look at attendance differently now. Unless you're really a B2B trade show, you have to look at things like this. So it used to be maybe you would get a family come out to your event, or a couple come out to your event, or a couple friends come out to your event. That same family can now view your event in one system. So expect a dip in certain attendances, not due to less people attending it, just they're going to attend it in different ways. They'll attend it as a group, they'll attend it as a family. So something to keep an eye on when you are looking at your metrics and wondering why, you may have gone from 10,000 people to 6. It may not be that you dropped, you may have even grown, but the difference is one sign in. It's almost like we're now, someone brought up the fact that we're television studios. That's almost how we have to start looking at ratings or attendance rather. Customer support, project manager is assigned to you. One meeting per week, which is and it's a 1 hour meeting where you basically get to ask the questions, get trained up. They have to build out the platform. So that takes about a week or two. So you hope that it happens right away. Once you do get a project manager, they're usually pretty good. But we found it very frustrating that it took so long to get started. And then we essentially had 4 weeks to onboard ourselves and learn the platform start to finish. Which really, really caused us a few problems in the long run once you get down closer to the event. Limited available, like they were, as good as our event project manager was, there was limited availability outside of those 1 hour weekly meetings that we were able to connect with her and ask questions. We would get emails back and things like that, but it was often a day, 2 days, possibly 3 days after our initial ask. And when things and changes weren't made on the first meeting, it would take a full week before we could bring it up in person. Yeah, that was a bit of a frustration. This led to an issue with our SSO during the sign-in of the event. Where we had a little trouble with it, and we were unable to contact anyone from their team to help deal with the situation for up to 20 minutes, which was extremely frustrating. Like any event, whether it's live or virtual, you rely on your suppliers to be your partner, to help you through things. There's only so much you can do. There's things that you're going to need to rely on them, and in this regard, we found them lacking. So when it came to that and the on-site, which is really the most important, time that you need support from your platform, they just weren't there. So that's something to consider when you are making that purchase. Video production offered limited support comparative to the price that they charged. Honestly, they charge a lot for their streams, their Simulive, they're live, and I just found the experience to not be the full service that they purported it to be when we were making the purchase. So again, I would have liked to have seen more of an effort to onboard our speakers beforehand, more flexibility and understanding that our speakers cannot be there half an hour, and someone speaking up on the actual stage. So for us, I was sitting there, and I know that not everyone's going to see a chat in this. You honestly, as a production person, have to come face to face, talk to people, explain where the chat is so that they can see it there. Oftentimes what I found is their production team would only stay inside the chat and hope that the speakers would find it. Oftentimes I would, have to get to them in other ways on a specific chat, which was a frustrating thing for us. Old software, old problems. So I've touched on this a couple times. Some of the older, more reliable, true and tested platforms are going to be built out of older software. A lot of this stuff wasn't built for what we're using it for, but a 6CONNEX in particular, I don't think was built to rapidly change and move with some of the ways that events happen, and especially with things changing so quickly and people having to make decisions. I know a lot of our industry was looking to really get back into buildings and get back to live events in the fall and hopefully into the winter. But obviously with the way things are going and the conversations that we've heard today is we've gone to virtual in a big way, and that's going to be probably what we're going to do for a long time. Their running of the system, I don't think, is very manageable for a lot of events, just because unless you know what you're doing going into it, it's going to be quite tough for you to learn the system and execute in the best way possible in a 6 to 8 week period that they're offering people with the project managed plan. So just something to think about. Again, I don't want to just keep talking about the negatives. There was some incredible positives. The show looked incredibly beautiful. It was super easy to navigate. There was great tech support that we were able to surprise for our audience members. The chat is one of the best chat features for each of the vendors to talk to attendees. It was very interactive. It let people know who was online, who they were able to talk to. They were able to send messages while they're offline. It really is a 24-hour show that runs itself even when you're not online running it. So there was some great positives there. Keys to success: find someone already familiar, and you'll see these are kind of the themes that I've gone through. Find someone that's familiar with the platform to supplement your team. Collect all exhibitor information content prior to the start of the project plan. So I talked about this a little bit before. The sooner you start collecting that content, the better position you're going to be, whether you have that set up or not, because it's a really long push to get all of that content uploaded into the system. And the longer you give your team to have, the better off you're going to be. Have the staffing necessary to support the platform. Again, this is something I've talked about a couple times in my talk. It's really important to have enough staff, and understanding that this is going to take a lot of work, both design, build people, you got to demo everyone. All of this is brand new, so make sure you have the time set aside and the staff set aside to make this a success. Limit the customizability options. There's a lot of things that you can do for this. The more you give your clients an opportunity to customize the platform and make things different, that's very nice and great. But given the short amount of time and the massive amount of work that their team development side is under, I would suggest limiting it, make it to some key points. You can customize some rooms and things like that, but I would really make sure that's dictated and directed by the show team itself, and allow enough time to run a full event test prior to the show. It's going to be new. You want to test out everything. All these SSOs and a lot of the integrations are going to be new for a lot of the platforms. It wasn't necessary for what they were doing before. So again, give yourself enough time for your clients to get comfortable. There's a lot of moving parts to the booths themselves, so you want to make sure that they get a chance to see it and make sure everything's correct and that it looks great, and that way you're not rushing last minute. That really brings us to the end of my PowerPoint presentation. Thank you everyone for taking the time to listen. Here's some of the clients that we've worked with. I'm just gonna answer some questions if anyone has any. I'm happy to get to them. Okay, doesn't look like we have any questions for me. So without further ado, I'm going to let everyone get back to the rest of the show. A couple things that we have coming up. We've got networking, which will be turned on very soon, which allow everyone to really get into some cool, quick conversations. We also have our cocktail lessons coming up and our happy hour for networking. So please stick with us and have a good one.